If you're a woman who's tired of dieting, emotional eating, or trying plan after plan that just doesn't stick, then you are in the right place, and I made this video for you. I'm Katie, a registered dietitian who loves to help women like you find a real, sustainable path to weight loss. One that will actually work for your body and your lifestyle, because we're all individual and unique. I'm tired of hearing my clients come to me and tell me that they were told to follow a plan or a diet that wasn't really right for them or their lifestyle or preferences, and then they feel like they failed after trying this thing for a while and realizing it doesn't work. So that's why I created this channel, to help women feel empowered with the tools they need to make a personalized weight loss plan that actually works for them. And today we are diving into one of the most important and often misunderstood tools for weight loss, which is something that I usually talk about first with my clients because it's that important. And that thing is protein. And you've probably heard about protein, but I want to tell you that today's video will not explain it in the way that you're probably thinking. See, I'm not going to tell you to just eat more chicken or drink a bunch of protein shakes. We're actually going to talk about how protein can help you to reduce cravings, support your hormones, improve your body composition, and also help you to lose weight sustainably. And I'll show you how to increase your protein in a way that feels good to you. So first, let's talk about why protein is such a game changer. And we can start with really the basics. So why is protein such a big deal? The main reason is it helps with satiety and fullness, meaning that protein helps you to feel full for longer. And that means fewer cravings and a lot less snacking or grazing in between meals. To help you understand this better, a meal with protein, or a meal without protein rather, will actually stay in your stomach for probably only 1 to 2 hours, whereas a meal with protein will last more like 3 to 4 hours. The next reason protein helps is because it leads to muscle preservation. See, when we lose weight, we don't just lose fat tissue, we actually naturally lose a little bit of muscle as well. And protein helps to protect as much of that lean muscle mass as possible, which is key for keeping your metabolism strong throughout your weight loss journey. This is what will help your weight loss to last long term, especially when you combine it with strength training, because the more muscle we have, the better our metabolisms can be. And then there's also the thermic effect of food, which is really just a fancy way of saying that protein takes more energy to digest than carbs or fat. So you actually use calories just by eating it and breaking it down through digestion. This is a way to eat, feel full, and use energy, all by increasing protein. And finally, blood sugar balance. This is huge for emotional eaters, and blood sugar balance is actually one of my favorite topics to talk about because it really does make a big difference in our cravings. When your blood sugar is like a roller coaster ride, meaning it's going way up and then it crashes down really fast, cravings can increase, especially for sugary foods, because our body will start to look for that quick energy when our blood sugar dips too low. The way to avoid this and make our blood sugar more like natural rolling hills is you focus on eating protein with your carbs. So you see, protein helps your blood sugar to stay steady throughout the day, and it keeps cravings at bay. So now let's talk about the power of a high protein breakfast. And here's a tip that I share with probably like 90% of my clients, which is to start your day with a high protein breakfast. Why? Because your first meal sets the tone for everything. Your cravings, your energy, your mood, and even your hormones. When you wake up, your cortisol levels are naturally higher, and that's your body's way of getting you alert and ready for the day. But if you skip breakfast or just grab, say, a muffin and coffee, that cortisol can spike even more, which can actually drive cravings and make them worse, and maybe lead to stress eating later on in the day. So a protein-rich breakfast helps to blunt that cortisol response, stabilize your blood sugar, and this helps you feel more balanced throughout the day. Some easy options are eggs with veggies and avocado, a smoothie with Greek yogurt, berries, and chia seeds, overnight oats with protein powder and maybe like peanut butter. And I want to make this really simple for you, so let me go back to the example of having a muffin with coffee. So instead of having a muffin or even a piece of fruit with, let's say, a latte made with almond milk, you could balance your blood sugar by having eggs with a muffin or fruit, and maybe use a milk with protein to make your latte. So something like a soy milk or a cow's milk would have more protein than almond milk. This will also help you to feel full, which helps because nobody wants to be hungry throughout the day while they're trying to lose weight. That's probably not going to last long term. So how much protein do women really need? This is something that you're probably wondering right now, and the RDA, or the recommended dietary allowance, is about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. This is what I was taught when I was a dietitian in college. However, that number is really just to avoid deficiency. It's not necessarily to support fat loss, muscle, optimal health, or metabolism. So for sustainable weight loss, I usually recommend 1.2 to maybe even 1.5 grams per kilogram, and sometimes more if you're really, really active. Through my work with clients, further research, and also personal experience, I can promise you that most people feel a lot better when they're getting more protein. For most women, that's around 90 to 120 grams per day. But if that feels overwhelming, then aiming for 70 to 80 grams per day, that's still a great start, and it's still enough to at least support muscle preservation for most people, so it's still a good target. And that might still sound like a lot, but don't worry, I want to show you how to make it doable. So now let's talk about getting enough protein without obsessing. If you're like some of my clients, the idea of tracking protein might sound stressful or even restrictive, but just know that that's totally optional, and tracking can be short-term, just for a couple days to give you a snapshot. And also, you could focus on a simpler structure without tracking. So including protein at every meal and most snacks. Aiming for 20 to 30 grams per meal and at least 5 grams per snack is a good goal for most people. So here's what like a high protein day could look like. Breakfast could be 2 eggs and Greek yogurt. Lunch could be grilled chicken salad with quinoa. Snack could be cottage cheese and berries or a protein shake. And then dinner could be salmon with lentils and veggies. So now let's talk about plant-based proteins, which is often overlooked. You see, you can get protein from foods like lentils, beans, quinoa, and nuts and seeds. And actually, even some vegetables like spinach and broccoli have some protein. For example, 1 cup of lentils is about 18 grams, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter is about 8 grams, 1 cup of quinoa is about 8 grams, and actually 1 cup of cooked spinach is actually 5 grams of protein. But here's the caveat. Plant-based proteins aren't absorbed as efficiently as animal proteins. So if you're vegan, meaning you're not eating eggs, dairy products, or any kind of meat or seafood at all, you may need to aim for the higher end of the protein range or even more in order to get enough protein that's actually absorbed. Also, try to combine different sources throughout the day, like beans with brown rice or tofu with whole grains. This can help you to get what we call complete proteins. Either way, the goal is the same: to build meals that are balanced, satisfying, and rich in protein, whether you eat meat or not. So let's bring it back to emotional eating, because this is where a lot of my clients struggle. And if I'm being completely honest, I struggle at some moments with emotional eating too. And when you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed, it's easy to reach for sugar or carbs because they genuinely can make you feel good with a temporary increase in serotonin or dopamine. But by at least starting to pair protein with your carbs, you can slow down that cycle of emotional eating. And also to remember that skipping meals or eating low protein meals sets you up for cravings later on in the day. So protein helps to stabilize your energy and also your mood, and you'll probably feel so much more grounded when meals are balanced. So if emotional eating is something that you struggle with, first of all, know that you're definitely not alone. And also, protein could be a really good place to start to help you reduce the frequency of emotional eating. So to recap, protein is one of the most powerful tools that you can use for sustainable weight loss, especially if you're done with fad diets, long-term calorie counting, or feeling guilty around food. And here's your next step. Start with building meals with 20 to 30 grams of protein, and especially look at your breakfast options. Try tracking it for a couple of days, but only if you're curious. Or a simpler option is to think about getting at least a palmful of protein, whether that's half a chicken breast, a 3-ounce fish fillet, or even some tofu. And notice how you feel. Do you have more energy? Do you have fewer cravings? Do you have better mood? So I want to not just give you information, but also help you apply things to your life so that you can get unstuck, less overwhelmed, and actually take action. So if you want an idea for an action step you can take today, here are some things you could meal prep to have easy protein on hand. First is lean ground beef or chicken that you can add to tacos, soups, or rice bowls. Second is frozen turkey burger patties for easy sandwiches. And then third is actually one of my favorites, which is chickpea pasta. So thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more encouragement from me later. And let me know in the comments what's your go-to high protein meal, or also what would you like to learn next, because I really want to support you on your journey. All right, thank you. Bye.